with new business. Approve the following salary schedule adjustment and placement for 2014-15 school year. Courtney Hollister from a BA to a BA plus 150. Motion to accept.
Brim?
McCollum?
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Approve the written resignation of Larry Chamberlain, Kenton Elementary School custodian, effective January 1st, 2015. Larry's been with Kenton City Schools for 30 years. He's requesting severance pay. Motion.
Householder.
Householder.
Blue got it first. Whatever.
Any discussion?
It didn't.
Let's vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Approve the transfer of Jeff Bloom from 4-hour bus driver to 4-hour special needs bus driver with a probationary period of 15 days starting September 9th, 2014 to September 29th. Motion to accept.
Brim?
Second.
McCollum?
Discussion. And vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Approve the following substitutes contingent upon their certification and training and background check for 2014-15 school year. Heather Reisner in the cafeteria, Donna Martin, education assistant, Roberta Pease, secretary and education assistant, Kelly Kugel, secretary and education assistant, Russ Senning is a substitute bus driver and custodian, Sky Pecan. Little help?
I don't know. That sounds good.
Okay, and Sue Broker is substitute teachers, and then Dan Comstock as substitute custodian. Motion to accept.
Householder.
Second. Discussion? Vote?
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Approve the following volunteer for the 2014-15 school year, contingent upon paperwork and background check. Ryan Althouse for band. Motion to accept.
Brim?
McCollum?
Any discussion? Vote.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Approve Donna Augustus, 4-hour bus driver, 4 hours, step 17, 4 hours, step 17, 187 days, the rate of $15.05 per hour, contingent upon the background check. Probationary period of 60 days from September 9th to December 4th of 2014. Motion to accept.
McCollum?
Householder.
Second. Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes. Approve the following employee supplemental contracts for the 2014-15 school year, contingent upon required paperwork. Ryan Miller, head basketball coach. How long the list is this? Okay, I got it.
It's pretty short.
Ryan Miller, head basketball coach, step 3 at $6,920. Bradley Potts, 7th grade boys basketball coach at $1,954. He's step 0. Kevin Kapanka, middle school wrestling, step 3, $2,748. And Brent Fackler, winter weight training coach for step 3 at $1,424. Motion. Thank you. Is there a second?
Householder.
In discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Approve the following non-employee supplemental contracts for the 2014-15 school year, contingent upon paperwork, background check. Matt McCullough, head basketball coach, step 2, $6,424. CJ Sharp, assistant basketball, step 0, $3,543. Jeff Broker, also assistant, step 1 for basketball, $3,973. Randy Morris, assistant girls basketball coach, step 0, $3,543. Jay Bossman, assistant girls coach, step 0, $3,543. Bill Lawrence, freshman boys basketball, step 2 at $3,113. Mark Barrett, freshman girls basketball, step 0, $2,517. Lynn Webb, 7th grade girls basketball, step 0, $1,954. Jason Manns, head high school wrestling coach, step 1, $3,973. Ryan Morgan, it's assistant for wrestling, step 1, $2,815. Merrick Kaufman, head coach of the swim team, step 2 at $4,404, and Kim Kaufman is assistant coach for swimming, step 2 at $3,113. Motion to accept.
Brim?
Second.
Blue.
Discussion. Vote please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Approve the fiscal year 2015 permanent appropriations resolution. Motion.
Householder?
Second.
McCollum?
Discussion. Tracy, any comments?
I said the only thing that I'm not sure about is the utilities cost on that new building. That's gonna be like, really have to watch that.
Yeah.
Well, they gave us a projection, remember?
That'll be accurate within, oh, yeah.
Actually, it's about as accurate as predicting the weather. So.
Right, exactly.
All right.
It'll be
That
interesting.
makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, we'll
Takes
find
us
out.
all a little bit.
Yeah.
$1.30 a square foot, wasn't that what our projection was?
Yes.
And that's for the year, so.
Yeah.
138,000 square feet, is that what it was?
Something like that.
34 somewhere.
Times $1.30 divided by monthly bills, right?
Is that just the heat, the electric?
That's it.
The
That's
phone?
supposed to be
The-
everything.
Supposed to be.
That's supposed
All
to be all
utilities.
inclusive, all inclusive.
Like you said, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's vote.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Approve the following out-of-state trips for JROTC. October 16th and 17th, Nashville, Tennessee for the rifle team. December 13th in Indianapolis for the rifle team. January 24th of 2015 in West Virginia for the drill team. March 14th at Fort Knox, Kentucky, drill and rifle team, and also for the drill and rifle team, March 21st in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Motion to accept.
Brim?
Blue
Okay.
has Brim second.
I'll be second.
Probably have better hearing on my left ear.
Makes no difference.
Any discussion?
I wish them the best of luck.
Yes, it's a
They've done a
good
fine
program.
job in the past.
They have. I think they're gonna do a good job.
Vote please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Approve the shared service agreement between Ada Exempt Village School and Kenton City School District for SWSD special education services for the 2014-15 school year. Motion, please.
Brim?
McCollum?
Call the second. Discussion. Vote, please.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Approve the shared service agreement. Oh, yeah. You knew I was in favor. Moving on to the next thing. Jennifer, would you like to make a comment about these agreements, just to explain that they're shared service agreements?
I think they're wonderful.
Yeah.
Is what I think. I think it's absolutely amazing that we're able to work together as a county to be able to provide our kids with outstanding services, is what I believe. So I think we're truly blessed. So this started probably 2 years ago now that we took over our special education units and brought them back to Kenton. And 2 years ago we brought back students with severe disabilities, SWSD. And last year we brought back our ED, our emotionally disturbed units, and we're able to serve kids in the county here at Kenton City Schools. And I think our staff does an amazing job. So what these agreements do is that students from Ada, Hardin Northern, and currently Ridgemont are able to send their students here to Kenton, and they can be part of our program. And so those teachers and those aides, educational assistants, are hired through Auglaize County ESC right now. But we supervise the units, we oversee the units, we pick the curriculum, we make sure that the instruction is what we want it to be. It aligns with Kenton City Schools' beliefs and our philosophies, our district goals. So we're really proud of what we do with those two units. So we have 4 SWSD units and 3 ED units, I believe. I think one of them might be cross-categorical, so I may I think there's 7 units total, so I think that's correct. So that's what all these agreements, well, most of them are. And the other one is just for the truant officer and school resource officer later, that we've discussed. So I think that helps.
Just working together, the districts in the county to
Absolutely.
provide services, and so.
It not only helps kids, but it helps the bottom line.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready to start. Approve the shared service agreement between Hardin Northern Local School District and Kenton City School District for emotionally disturbed special education services for the 2014-15 school year. Motion to accept.
Householder.
McCollum?
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Approve the shared service agreement between 8 exempted village school district and Kenton City School District for truant officer and school resource officer for the 2014-15 school year. Motion?
McCollum?
Second?
Householder.
Vote, please.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Approve the shared service agreement between Hardin Northern Local School District and Kenton City School District for truant officer and school resource officer for 2014-15 school year. Motion?
Blue.
Second?
Brim?
Discussion? Vote?
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Approve the shared service agreement between Upper Scioto Valley School Local School District and Kenton City School District for truant officer and school resource officer for 2014-15 school year. Motion, please.
McCollum?
Second.
Householder.
Discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
We have a editorial, we made adjustment to this motion, but it reads, approve the amended certificate of estimated resources for the fiscal year 2015. We deleted the rest of that sentence. We already took care of that, so. Any questions? May I have a motion, please?
Brim?
Second?
McCollum?
Discussion, vote?
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes. Approve the authorization for the superintendent and treasurer to issue a letter of intent to Western Ohio Computer Organization to participate in a future phase of the Munis software conversion.
Householder.
Second.
McCollum?
This was what Dave mentioned in the Finance Committee report. Questions? Vote, please.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Approve the shared service agreement between Ridgemont Local School District and Kenton City School District for students with severe disabilities, special education services for 2014-15 school year. Motion, please.
Blue.
Second.
Brim?
Discussion, vote.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Approve the shared service, easy for me to see. I can say. Want to have some more discussion for a minute? Approve the shared service agreement between Ridgemont Local School District and Kenton City School District for SWSD, special educational aid services for 2014-15 school year.
Householder.
Second.
McCollum?
Discussion, vote.
Some students require extra assistance, so this would just be, so when that is required, then that school district would purchase the extra services. So in this case, it's an extra educational assistant. So that's why there's an extra contract. If that makes sense.
Okay, vote please.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Approve the preschool handbook for the 2014-15 school year. Motion?
Brim?
Second?
Householder. Blue guy.
Okay.
Any discussion other than who seconded? Okay, vote please.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Approve the revised policy 5120, employment of administrators.
Householder.
McCollum.
Discussion?
So basically, this policy just had two changes. The first one is just a change in notification. So it used to be that we would hire administrators, I believe, in March. We would renew their contracts. And last year, if you remember, we did it in May because the law had changed. We just needed to update our policy to reflect in the employment of administrators when we notified them, because our notification still reflected the March hiring date. So that's the first part that we changed. The second part that we changed is something that we had discussed for a while, and that's the extracurriculars that our administrators do here in the district. So that piece of it that we've now added to the policy basically states that anyone that's employed under the administrative contract cannot be a head coach. Now, they can be an assistant coach or, a volunteer coach or assist with programs and those things, but our administrators, so much of their time is just spent working in the buildings and those kinds of things. It's just hard to be a head coach of a varsity program. And so that's the second piece of the policy that we're changing, and that would be the two pieces that changed for this policy number 5120. I
Okay.
don't know if there's any questions or discussion.
All right, let's vote.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes. We have an addendum to approve the following resolution authorizing the sale at public auction of real property owned by the school board and no longer needed for school purposes. And it goes on, and there's plenty of copies available if you want to read the rest of the details. It's authorizing us to sell the buildings we're no longer using. So
And then at letter
particularly
A,
Westview and East Crest,
Right.
do we have the time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yeah,
on
it
Saturday, October 25th.
Forgot that. Any questions about the resolution itself? We have a motion to accept.
Householder.
Blue.
3 seconds. Any other discussion about that? All right, let's vote.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
We need we want to go back into executive session, correct? That's our plan, so I need a motion.
Yes. Yeah, I'll move that we go into executive session to discuss, I guess, the sale of these buildings kind of
Right.
thing, facilities stuff. And there'll be no further action taken.
I have a question.
It's 8:08.
I live on West Main Street, and they're going to sell SB building, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's going to be offered for auction, yes.
Okay. But
Not
what are
as-
they going to do with the playground equipment there?
At this time, and that's part of what we're going to discuss in executive session,
Think about this.
we're planning on leaving all the equipment with the building to the new owner. It'll be all sold together.
SB is different, though.
Well,
SB
this is
is
not
going
SB, this
to-
is Westview.
Oh, you're talking about
Westview and East Crest will be that way.
Okay.
Hardin Central
She's
and
SB.
I'm asking about
SB.
We need a playground. I hope they don't put it in a parking lot. I hope and pray that. We need a playground down there. We got millions of little kids down there that's just coming up, and their parents take them to that school from the play. And they're too little to go across to the Wharton thing.
And I think the city is working with some plans and some things to do, because we've had a lot of requests for the playground equipment and for what to do and how they're going to build
I
and
don't
do.
care. I just don't want a parking lot there.
Right. What we do through our OFCC project is we're required to take it down to what they call green space.
Yeah.
And then from that, we'll be able to, the city and the school and however it goes from there would be able to make decisions on whether that property is sold or if that property's donated, or however they would go about rebuilding it to what it needs to be. But the first thing we have to do is take it down to green space. So it will go down to green space before it's turned into anything, which could be another park or, you know, where, whatever it goes into. I don't know what that would be yet.
If you remember, what used to be the Cherry Street Park, and I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
The Murray Park, that was a school. Glendale
Yeah.
Park was a school. Potentially that could happen to that. I would like to see that personally. I don't know that that'll occur.
I don't know anything about the city school because I went to 8 years to Hardin Central. I was comfortable. We both of us went there. So I know nothing about those schools, but I just know my children went there, and I knew we got a lot of young families, and there was little kids, and their parents walking to that. They can bring them across Main Street and the East Detroit Street, and they can walk into that. And there are little ones coming up that's not even school age yet.
Well, I would encourage you
Parking lot.
to talk to your city council representative of your
I'll go to the
area,
council.
and because they need to start that on their side too, and then us and them, we can have a discussion at the point when the building's torn down,
I
and
was
so,
just curious.
yeah, and that's
I'm one of the older neighbors there, have been there longer. And the lady next door to me, but she passed away and sold the house to a family with little kids. And we've been discussing it, because it's so lonesome not seeing those little kids going to school there and hearing them play. But that's fine, but we need a playground there for the children.
Yeah.
I don't have any little ones, but I got grandkids that comes to my house and goes over there and plays. But they can walk and I stand on the porch and watch.
Right.
yeah. So yeah, talk to the city council and
So you want me to bring there as well?
yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then, you know, between the two organizations, we can decide on that, but it takes their support as well to make it happen. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem.
okay, I'm sorry.
Still need a
So
second.
now you need a time.
Okay, we need a second for the motion to.
Oh, we need a second?
Well,
Okay. Time is 8:12. We need a motion or a vote?
Mr. Householder?
Yes.
Mr. McCullough?
yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes.
Mr. Brim?
Yes.
Our next regular board meeting will be held on October 20th, 2014 at 7 PM here in the board office. And so we'll be in executive session, but we'll take no further action after we're done. Thank you.